Hello, my name is Josh, and I'm a watchaholic. Welcome to Horology Insanity.
What is up, my watch friends? So, check this out. Today, I have the joy of sending several watches to a buddy of mine because he's eyeing a certain category of watch. He's on the hunt and he's kind of doing his research, and he keeps coming back to this watch right here. So, for those of you who don't know, this is the Hamilton Cooper, which is from the Interstellar movie. In fact, both of these are, this one right here is called the Murph. And so both of these were in that Matthew McConaughey movie called Interstellar, which I enjoyed that movie. I've watched it several times now. But the watches kind of play a prominent role in the movie. And so without trying to give you any spoilers away, I think this right here is the watch that Matthew McConaughey wears. And I think his character's name is Cooper, which is why they call this the Cooper. And then this is the watch that he gives to his daughter. And I think her name is Murph. And maybe that's why this is called the Murph. But I've got a buddy who wants to check these out. So he originally just asked me if he might be able to borrow this. And of course, this is a good friend. It's a trusted friend. It's somebody who's loaned watches into me and is part of a group that I'm in that we talk to regularly, sometimes even daily. And so over time, you get to know each other, even though I've not met him in person. And you get to a point where it's like, yeah, man, I'll drop these in the mail to you and I'll let you borrow these. Now, let me say real quick, because the overall premise of this video is to just talk about sending watches to a friend. And I do want to say that, be careful. There are some not trustworthy people out in the world who might borrow a watch and maybe not treat it in the same manner that you do. They might not have, like y'all know me, I don't scratch my watches. I wear them very carefully. Not everybody does that. I won't even set a watch down on its bracelet like that, right? And some people, just toss them around and do whatever. Just be mindful of that and know that anything that you share, it might not come back to you at all. And it might not come back to you in the same condition that you send it out as. And that, while it may not be the best thing in the world, it's not that bad. Because again, as I always say in the closing of my videos, keep in mind what really matters, and that's not watches. So in this case, it is about the friendships that you can gain and the friendships that you can have in this hobby, because there's some really, really awesome people in this hobby. Now, with that said, is it of course a win-win if you can both share it with other people and they treat it like you would want it to be treated? Yes, that's what you want to look for. But with that, keep an eye out on regulars in the groups. You can probably make friends. You can probably even connect with people on Facebook, that kind of stuff. You can keep in touch. Discord is another option depending on some of these groups that you can be in. Maybe start out easy with a lesser expensive watch, but as you're getting ready to see, I'm about to send a couple $1,000s worth of watches in a box. And of course, I'm going to insure it. I trust the guy that I'm sending these to. I don't have any qualms about it whatsoever. And that's cool. But I've also known this guy for like 2 years now. And we sent a bunch of watches back and forth from each other, bought and sold watches from each other. And so over time, that pen pal kind of relationship, it can grow into a trustworthy one. So with that, here's the ones that he wants. And let's talk about his criteria real quick. He's got a wrist that's slightly smaller than mine. So I'm guessing he's about 7.5 to 7.75 inches, right? As y'all know, I'm 7.75 to about 8. Yes, and as always, I'm wearing my favorite G-Shock. But anyway, he has been enjoying larger watches around 42, if not 44 millimeter. And so he again was looking at like a Flieger-style watch, and this keeps coming up as meeting a lot of his criteria. And so this one. Now, I of course said, well, in addition, I have this one here, and so let me go ahead and include that while I'm at it. And so these are two of the options. Let me just set those here. Now, in addition to that, I'm sending him a handful of other watches that are kind of a surprise to him. And in fact, of course, because he watches my videos, I have to delay the publishing of this until he receives these watches. But then we can air this, and that way I won't ruin the surprise for him. But I have some other watches that are kind of in the category of the size and maybe the aviation style or the Flieger style that he may want to check out at some different price ranges. So the first one that jumped out at me is this beautiful Citizen Flieger Eco Drive watch. And this watch, this is actually one of the very first watches that I got when I got into the hobby. And I want to say that that was the resultant influence of Shane over at Relative Time. I believe that I think he's maybe had this whole watch, but he had, I believe it was an AliExpress homage to this watch. And I went looking for it because I liked the overall aesthetic of it. And it turned out that the Citizen, I got this thing on clearance. And so it really wasn't that much more than the AliExpress version. And so I was like, oh, well, that's a no-brainer then, in my opinion. I'm getting the Citizen. And so this one too, it's a little bit larger. I think it's 42. Let me grab my calibers real quick out of the drawer. But this one, let's see if I can grab that. The right case. Oh, it's 44. Yeah. So, and you know that a lot of Flieger style watches, they were a little bit bigger. Yeah, 44. This is a larger style watch. So I think that this might fall well into his parameters. It's got the Flieger. If you can even still find these, I don't know if these are still available or not, but this might be a fun and enjoyable option. I mean, the Hamilton, if you can get a good deal on one, they're more than the Citizen, but they're not absurdly priced. I think I got a really good deal on this one. I'm not going to necessarily tell you what I paid, but the other one that I wanted to send him is this Laco. Now, I don't know if this falls into the Flieger category or not. I mean, it's got the small seconds hand. It doesn't have the giant triangle at the top or whatever, but it is a larger case diameter. And so let me just do this again. So we're looking at, see, 42.5 on that there. And so this one might just give him an idea of what some of these from either Laco, this is very similar to the Weiss watch that I had. And I still want to check out the 42 millimeter Weiss Field watch. I want to do a side-by-side of these if I can ever get them in. So there's that option. Yeah, so I was going to include this for him. This has got the ETA hand-wound movement in it, which is one of the reasons why it makes the case so big, right? So they could fit that movement in it, kind of like the Sky Raiders. But my buddy already has a V2 Sky Raider, so I didn't have to include one of those for him. But yeah, so that's another option. So we got some Hamiltons, we've got a Citizen, we've got the Laco. Next, even though I don't know, y'all tell me, I don't know so most genres or categories of watches, I feel pretty comfortable with. Like you've got your divers, those are easy. You got your dress watches, those are easy. But I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to like field / aviation / Flieger / whatever, I'm going to be honest with you, I still don't know that I know what Flieger is or what Flieger means. So I don't know if somebody, maybe I need to go YouTube, search something and somebody's done a video on it. I don't know. But like, if you know, and you want to teach me in the comments, I would love to know that kind of thing. Like, what is a Flieger? How is it different than a field versus a military inspired versus an aviator versus whatever? Help me out there. But with this one, this is kind of an quote aviator's watch. This is the Citizen. It's another Citizen. This is the Blue Angels edition. And I believe this is part of the, what is it called? The Flight Master series. I just picked this one up. This is the Chronograph with the sapphire crystal and all that. This thing is amazing. And again, y'all know I love blue. I had eyed these for a long time at my local AD. And so we have a thing down here in the South called Jared's Jewelers, and it's a chain of jewelry stores or whatever, but they would often have these in there. And so we'd go there, or we'd go to the mall, and we'd look around at the local shops, and you would see these Blue Angels watches everywhere. And I always wanted one, but I had never really pulled the trigger on one. And mainly, again, because y'all know I'm frugal. I wanted to get a good deal. And I was waiting to kind of find one on sale, kind of like I got that one there. I got that one on clearance. And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's just wait and see what I can find. Well, I was able to get this one, and I'm so thankful that I did. But for me, it's a perfect size. You know, this one too, let me see if I can get, this one's a little harder to get because it's got the pushers And so let me see. I mean, 44 mil, but again, some of that is like the pusher I'm trying to get in there. But this is a larger watch, and I love everything about it. So I'm including it just for, if nothing else, the size of it, and to see if my buddy might be interested in something like that, or like an aviation style versus, you know, kind of the quote Flieger that like these are. And then the last but not least, ta-da, this is the, I think it's the GSTB something. This is the G-Shock analog, partially digital, maybe, whatever. I don't even know how to use half of these things. This one is cool because, one, it's a larger case, but it's not super thick, and it's got this carbon fiber bezel on it, and then it's got this beautiful and pretty comfortable rubber strap on it. So that's already kind of pre-contoured shape around your wrist. So this one, I think it wears really well for what it is. It's definitely not a small watch. And I think of all these, it's even the biggest one here. But yeah, I just wanted to give him something just to say, hey, if you've never experienced this before, here you go. Throw it on your wrist, see what you'll think of it. All right, that's it. Now, as far as packaging these goes, I'm going to do that in the next video, because I actually want to share with people, when I'm sending these watches out, how do I package them up so that they will stay safe in transit, and hopefully it'll give, you know, a buddy, anybody who borrows my watches, it'll give them kind of a sense up front of how I care for my watches, hoping that they might replicate that or mimic it. And so check back in the next one. I've got a bunch of travel pods here and some other things. I'll show you how I wrap up my watches, and then I got to get this in the mail to my buddy, and hopefully he enjoys them. Cool. So let me know down in the comments, do you send watches to friends? Because if you can find a trustworthy person, it can really be a way to like accentuate or further your hobby. And so that's why I really wanted to do this and talk about all these. I really wanted to talk about these because, you know, if you can get into that, because this hobby can be expensive sometimes, but if you can get into the point to where you're sharing watches with friends. I've done other videos on co-buying watches with friends. I think I like the sharing option better than I do the co-buying. Yeah, something like this is a good thing. As long as everybody's in mutual agreement, it's a win-win for everybody and everybody takes care of everybody else's stuff. If you don't have that in the hobby, I hope that you can find it. But let me know down in the comments. Am I crazy? Would you send somebody, I don't know however much this costs, but would you send them some watches? I think it'll be good. I think my buddy's going to enjoy these. All right, my friends, until we talk again, please remember what really matters, and that's not watches. Keep the insanity sane.